over the last 2 weeks, 3 high-profile mass shootings have occurred in the U.S., killing 14 people. And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. As we promised in previous pods, we are no longer saying the names of shooters because we don't want to give them any type of fame.
Absolutely.
A lot of these shooters do it because they want their name in the news. We're not going to dignify that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of the things that struck me about these shootings, the two that we'll talk about a little bit less than the one we're going to focus on mainly, were how close they were to home for me.
Yeah.
So, like,
and for me,
2 of these occurred in places where I have lived in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, so in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I went to school, I spent 4 years at UVA. 3 members of the UVA football team were shot and were killed, and 2 other students were shot when they arrived back from a trip to DC on a bus. And a former UVA football player that was a first year in 2018, got on and just started aiming at people and shooting them.
Yeah.
And this was a student that had been on the university's radar for about 2 months before the shooting took place. And, another student had heard him talking about having possession of a gun. Now there wasn't a specific threat associated with it, but the university was kind of aware of this student. At the same time, he had multiple misdemeanor charges, including multiple attempts to buy guns over the preceding few years when illegally, when he was either too young or when, because of a previous criminal charge, he wasn't allowed to buy one and failed a background check. He had multiple he had a record for multiple misdemeanors, including having concealed weapon charges, including hit and run property damage and reckless driving. And ultimately, despite all that, he was able to legally purchase a rifle and pistol from a local gun store and use them to kill 3 people and injure 2 others. He fled the scene and was then taken into custody, and is now in custody and has been charged with murder. Yeah, I was reading this story. I don't know why, but I was reading about one of the victims, and I read that he was a studio art major, and it really got me. I knew studio art majors. I spent time in the arts buildings. I lived right next door.
Yeah.
It really drove home that these were people that I could have just seen around grounds. It was crazy to me. It was crazy.
Yeah. And the other shooting that we're not going to spend as much time on, but we do want to discuss, happened in Chesapeake, Virginia, which is another area that, Michael, you've lived.
Yep.
And this hit especially home for me as well, because my brother works right across the street
Jeez.
from the Walmart that this happened in. 6 people were killed when an employee opened fire at a Walmart. The victims' ages ranged from 16 to 70. And this happened hours after my brother got off his shift, right across the street from where he works. All right. He came into work the next day and there were still cops everywhere. And he had to walk in knowing that right over there, the Walmart that he could see from his window, that 6 people were killed there. I mean, I really need to save this for the rest of the segment, but and that's my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this keeps happening.
Yeah.
and it's happening so often that it's hard for anybody at this point to say that they don't have some type of personal connection, because almost everybody at this point lives either somewhere or near somewhere where something like this happened, or they're close to somebody
Yeah.
where something like this happened.
Yeah. And similar to the UVA case, this employee had, no like official record, but like there were some warning signs, like people had described like pretty aggressive behavior or were worried about this person. And they had legally purchased a gun the day of the killing to perform the killing. And like, I don't know, like, I don't want to make this like about gun control. It's like, I think, we're not, this is hard, and we're working on gun control, and we've talked about gun control, and it's a factual question about what works.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, being thorough and actually following the law works. But like, people will eventually be able, like, people that will do these killings will eventually be able to get access to guns. So like, it is important but insufficient to close these loopholes. But like, it's just stunning to me, like, in every one of these cases someone just went and bought one, and then in multiple of them police responded in record time. Like, in this Walmart shooting, police arrived within 2 minutes of being called. 2 minutes. And 6 people were killed. And this is a reoccurring theme. Like,
yeah,
the police can be very good, and the killing power of these machines is just way faster than they are.
Yeah. One of the things that we know, because we had a professional on, we had an FBI agent on who specializes in like mass shootings and understanding mass shootings and in preparing for mass shootings. One of the things that we know is that the MO of these people is to do the most amount of damage in the least amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
To Michael's point, a lot of these people are going to be able, if a person decides they're going to do this, they're probably going to get guns. But it is also important to note that when you have a situation in which a person can buy high capacity magazines that are capable of firing off like quickly hundreds of shots in 1 minute, then those 2 minutes that it takes for the cops to show up are going to be devastating to the people involved.
Yeah.
All right. They're forever. So, I think that a lot of conversation around gun control is usually done by people that don't understand a damn thing about guns. Because I honestly believe, I don't think any elected Democrats really understand guns. I sure as hell don't think any elected Republicans really understand guns that well. Maybe a few do, but most of them don't.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we need smart policy. But
yeah,
another thing that we need, even without discussions of guns, is we need to stop creating environments that breed mass shooters.
Mm-hmm.
And nowhere is that more apparent than in Colorado Springs. In Colorado Springs, in the Club Q, which is a queer nightclub in Colorado Springs, a shooter walked in, and just to give a bit of a timeline, the Colorado police got the first 911 call at 11:56, and by 12:02, the gunman was in custody. And in that 6 minutes, people were trapped in the club. And in that 6 minutes, 5 people died,
Mm-hmm.
and many others were injured. It was carnage, and the only reason why more people did not die is because, I mean, I know he would disagree with me on this, but because of a hero. All right.
Mm-hmm.
There was a man, and I'm gonna say his name. I'm not saying the gunman's name, but I'm gonna say his name. Retired Army Major Richard Fierro. He stepped up and he took down the gunman.
Yeah.
He was in the military, and he rushed the gunman, put him on the ground. The gunman had a sidearm, a handgun. He took that from him and just beat the living shit out of him, like over and over again. And I heard Fierro's recount of the event, and I mean, he was protecting his family.
Yeah.
I mean, in his mind, he's not a hero. He was just protecting his family. And one of the people that lost their lives was actually the boyfriend of his daughter.
Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately, it wasn't able to save everyone, but there are a lot more people that probably would have died if he had not taken action, if he had not done this.
Yeah.
And that is nothing short of heroic. And, you know, and I wish his family the best as they cope with the trauma.
Yeah.
And they cope with the loss. And I wish that for everybody who was in this horrific tragedy.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that this did not happen in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
This did not happen in a vacuum. This happened because we have been told over and over again, I mean, for the last several years, but especially in the last year, that drag shows, which they were putting on a drag show, that drag shows, that gay people, that trans people are grooming children.
Mm-hmm.
All right? We've been told that over and over again. We've been told that drag shows are just fronts for pedophiles to try to groom children. We've been told that over and over again. And you know what happens when you convince people that there's a large group of people out there that is specifically trying to groom children sexually? You know what happens? Someone listens, someone hears it, and someone takes action. Yeah. I mean, I get emotional when it comes to children. All right. If I thought someone was trying to hurt a kid, especially a kid that I cared about, I'd want to do something too.
Yeah.
But it's all lies. All right. What they keep saying is that being gay is inherently sexual. All right. It can't be romantic. It can't just be that you're in a romantic relationship with somebody, you know, like a heterosexual couple might be. You can't just say that it's inherently sexual, which is just not true. You know, what's weird is that the right keeps claiming that the left is obsessed with genitals when they're the ones that are obsessing about being transgender, which is obsessing over genitals. They keep making the argument that the left wants to mutilate the genitals of children, like take advantage of mental confusion to mutilate the genitals of children. And this is the fucking result of that. All right? When people feel threatened, they take action. That leads to these hate crimes. And that's what this is. That's what this clearly was. This was a hate crime.
Yeah.
Defenseless people who should never have been put in this situation had to flee for their lives, fight for their lives because of this environment that's been created.
Mm-hmm.
And what pisses me off the most is that they don't even fucking feel bad about it. And not only do they not feel bad about it, many of them are doubling down.
Mm-hmm.
Trigger warning. I'm about to read some really disturbing takes from prominent right-wing commentators. in the wake of this shooting. So Tim Pool said, quote, "We shouldn't tolerate pedophiles grooming kids. Club Q had a grooming event. How do you
fucking
prevent the
Christ.
violence and stop the grooming?"
Fuck. Oh my fucking God.
A grooming event. It was a fucking drag show.
That is an argument in favor of having murdered these people.
Yeah. Matt Walsh, quote, "Leftists are using a mass shooting to try to blackmail us into accepting the castration and sexualization of children. These people are just beyond evil. I have never felt more motivated to oppose everything they stand for with every fiber of my being. Despicable scumbags. People die and the first thing they think is, yes, we can use this as ammo against conservatives who don't think children should be exposed to drag shows. Soulless demons, evil to the core, truly."
They might as well say,
Keep doing it. Do more.
go attack them. Yeah.
You're the one sexualizing children, by the way. Like, that's what you're doing. When you're obsessing about this shit, that's what you're doing.
Yeah. When Republicans are
Right.
constantly pushing this narrative.
Yeah. And in another clip, Matt Walsh also tried to make the argument of, well, of course we're against this because drag shows are inherently sexualized, are inherently sexual, like burlesque. All right. Which that's just not true.
It's
Like,
so not true.
yeah, some of them are a little bit more raunchy, but that's not what they always are going to be.
Also, that's fine.
Yeah.
But
not-
but to your point, you don't even have to accept that that's fine. It's just
I mean,
factually wrong.
How is that any different from a kid watching like cheerleaders at the halftime show of a game? All right. Is that grooming children?
Yeah.
Is that grooming children?
Yeah, neither are if you don't sexualize kids the way the Republicans clearly do. I'm not calling them pedophiles. I'm saying that they are constantly thinking of kids as the objects of sexual attention.
Yeah. Steven Crowder. And this was in response to what Tim Pool said. He retweeted it. And then he said, quote, "Strong legislation to protect children and an armed populace to protect themselves / their kin."
Fucking Christ.
An armed populace. He is advocating for people to arm themselves against the queer community. He is advocating for that. He is almost like, I mean, there's almost no ambiguity there.
Yeah,
He's
none.
advocating for violence.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson. Fucking
The
Tucker
most
Carlson.
watched evening news show.
Yeah. Quote, "You are responsible for this, they told you, because you said the wrong things. You are guilty of stochastic terrorism, inspiring violence by your beliefs. The mass shooter," he said the name of the shooter, I'm not saying the name of the shooter, "committed mass murder because you complained about the sexualizing of children. Every time you object to a drag show story hour for fifth graders or point out that genital mutilation is being committed on minors, which it is, every time you say that, you are putting people's lives at risk." So even here's
He should
here's
have
the
been our
thing.
D-bag.
Here's the thing I want to point out. He knows what stochastic terrorism is.
Yeah. He knows the
He's
risk.
not using it correctly in this context.
Yeah.
But he knows what it is. And again, I want to emphasize something that I've emphasized before. Now, I don't know about Tim Pool. I don't know about Steve Crowder. I don't know about Matt Walsh. But Tucker Carlson knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He is smart. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to be a good propagandist. All right? He drops stochastic terrorism because he knows he's going to be accused of that.
Yeah.
Because that's what he does. Now, he's claiming that regular people are going to be accused of stochastic terrorism. That's not what stochastic terrorism is.
No.
All right. Stochastic terrorism is not some asshole, like your asshole uncle that has 50 friends on Facebook posting, all these queer groomers. Like, that's not stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism is when you have a large enough audience to where when you either make a implication about a threat of violence, or when you make or when you spend night after night after night saying that you are directly being attacked and that you need to defend yourself, that it becomes a statistical certainty that if your audience is big enough, somebody is going to take action.
Mm-hmm.
That's what stochastic terrorism is. So it's not your audience. It's not Tucker Carlson's audience that's committing stochastic terrorism. It's him that's committing stochastic terrorism. And he's dropping that because he's smart enough to know that. All right.
Yeah.
So that when people throw that label at him, that his audience is going to think, oh, well, they're accusing me of that. They're accusing me of stochastic terrorism. And again, what he's saying is just not correct.
Could you imagine seeing this tragedy and your first thought being, boy, I better get out in front of this. This might be bad for me.
God.
The proof is in the reaction. When his reaction is like immediately defensive, then you know that he knows that he has something to defend.
Yeah. Thing is, look, a part of me actually hoped, and maybe I'm fucking naive for this, but a part of me hoped that at least when it comes to mass shootings, all right, we might not agree on gun policy, but at least we can agree mass shooting bad. All right? At least we can agree on that. No matter who the victim is. All right? At least we can agree on that. At least we can agree that they don't have it coming. All right? And I hoped, against hope, that maybe some conservatives would at least have a tempered response to this, or at least recognize, hey, maybe I should tone this down just a little bit. I hoped that would happen. God, the idea that Matt Walsh is saying about how we were celebrating this because we thought it would be ammo against conservatives. I don't give a shit about beating conservatives. All right, that's not what this is about. That's not what this has ever been about. This is literally just been about people being able to live their lives the way that they want to. And in this case, in the case of the nightclub shooting, just live in general. All right? Yeah. Being able to be who you are without being threatened, without the fear of dying, without the fear of being killed because of who you are. All right? That's what it's about. I don't care about one-upping conservatives. I wasn't happy when I heard about this. What type of fucking monster thinks that way? If anybody is using this tragedy for some type of political gain, it's you. Because this is the next level of dehumanization, all right? You spend all of this time painting the queer community as groomers. And then when someone takes action on it, with your words poisoned in their minds, you act as if the victims had it coming. That is what you're doing. A retired member of the military had to take action to protect his family. And all you can say is that this was a grooming event. I don't understand how you can take any level of moral superiority on this. I mean, does this really mean nothing to you? I mean, is it really just about like having an audience and getting money from that? Is it really is that really why you're involved in this? Is this really why you do it? Because there's got to be some part of you that knows that this is wrong. All right? I mean, there's got to I really want to believe that there's some part of everybody, no matter how fucked up they might be, that looks at people dying, people just having a good time, being at a place that should be a safe place. I want to believe that there's some part of these people that at least look at that and see it as being wrong, and maybe feel like in the back of their mind that what I'm saying is impacting this. I want to believe that. But maybe that's just naive. And as long as this continues to be spread, People will continue to die. All right? The queer community just wants to live their life. They just want to live their life the way that the way that they are. All right? They're not trying to groom anybody. They're not trying to sexually assault anybody. They just want some goddamn equality. And when they politely ask for that, and you take that as an assault and you spread that further, you are only fueling further division and further violence. And I don't even know what else to say, because I can't imagine. I cannot imagine being that far gone that you honestly think that you're the good guy in this story.